So launch sites, air defence systems and additional infrastructure. Those are all the targets as Israel has launched what it called a broad wave of strikes on targets in Iran. The US saying that nearly 2,000 have now been hit inside Iran since the latest bout of hostilities, as commander of US Central Command compared that barrage as bigger than the so-called shock and awe campaign against Saddam Hussein in Iraq in 2003. The latest attacks after earlier Iran fired rounds of missile barrages at Israeli territory as air raid sirens rang out across multiple parts of Israel overnight. Well, let's hear first of all from the US commander.
Many of you may remember the shock and awe strikes of 2003. The first 24 hours of this operation were nearly double the scale, and we continue with 24/7 strikes into Iran from seabed to space and cyberspace. Now, we're less than 100 hours into this operation, and we've already struck nearly 2,000 targets with more than 2,000 munitions. We have severely degraded Iran's air defenses and destroyed hundreds of Iran's ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones. And in simple terms, we're focused on shooting all the things that can shoot at us.
Well, let's analyse all the latest for you. Joining us now is our correspondent Reza Sayar, who's in Tehran, and also our international affairs editor Ketavan Gordestani. Reza, starting with you, new wave of strikes on Tehran, the rest of the country as well. What seems to have been the extent, from what you can gather, of the extent of those attacks?
Yeah, Stuart, it's impossible for us to tell you with certainty the extent of those attacks from our very limited vantage points. It's very difficult and dangerous to go out in all parts of the Tehran to assess these attacks, and certainly we can't be everywhere in Iran, and that really drives home the impossibility of covering this war with any certainty, again, from this very limited vantage point. Our impression today is that the airstrikes and air raids, at least here in the capital, Tehran, have been less intense than in previous days. But make no mistakes, the airstrikes and the air raids are continuing to happen within the past hour. More huge explosions. If I look to my left, that's eastern Tehran. I see a huge plume of smoke, the result of another airstrike. And according to Israeli officials, and you heard the US officials, they're continuing their airstrikes. The Iranian Red Crescent, which is a humanitarian and rescue group, has come out with the latest numbers of the damage. They're saying that 53 cities, 153 cities across Iran have been hit. More than 500 locations have been hit. And the death toll, this is from yesterday, so it's probably going to go up. The death toll stands at 787 people, many of them civilians who had nothing to do with these hostilities. And we continuing to see just gut-wrenching, distressing video and pictures of civilians who've been killed and badly injured. And if these airstrikes continue, we can expect to see more of those images in the coming days.
Ketavan, it comes as there's been quite a bit of back and forth about why the US struck Iran in the first place, of course.
Yes, there's been conflicting explanations from different figures in the Trump administration, and Donald Trump yesterday in the Oval Office saying, I might have forced their hand, talking about the Israelis. And this is a way for the US president to sort of put an end to the debate over who started, when, and how. And that is in part a response to his own Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who on Monday hinted in front of reporters that maybe Israel had forced the hand of the United States by sort of saying that the Americans knew that there was going to be Israeli action and therefore there will be Iranian retaliation, and that they wanted to preempt that Iranian retaliation. Marco Rubio himself had to do a little bit of cleanup after Donald Trump responded. And his way of cleaning up was to say that reporters had misrepresented what he had said. He said, bottom line is this: the president was determined we were not going to get hit first. They're trying to put an end to the confusion, but the problem is that this confusion over why the U.S. started at this moment is similar to the confusion there has been over the explanation of the goals of this war. Was it to take out the nuclear program? Was it to take out the ballistic program? Was it regime change? Was it helping the Iranian people? Same sort of confusion over how long they think they're going to be in this. Donald Trump said everything from a few days to 4 or 5 weeks. The messaging from the Trump administration on this war is extremely confusing, conflicting, and the problem is it's already hard enough to sell a war to the American people, but when administration officials themselves can't get their story straight, if you will, that is making it even more problematic for the administration.
Let's go back to Reza in Tehran. Reza, as we were just starting the programme there, we were just hearing, in fact, from sources saying that the prospective next supreme leader, the son of the ex-supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, has survived an attack on him. And, of course, it very much leads into that question as to what happens next from Iran's point of view. Can they continue to fire effectively outside of the country? We heard from Donald Trump, of course, saying that a lot of the Iranian leadership has been eliminated at this point.
Yeah, first off, from Tehran's point of view, they give little credence to the comments and statements of U.S. President Donald Trump. There's very little trust that they have for him, perhaps no trust. Remember, it was this time last week that Tehran was negotiating with the Trump administration. And for the second time in 8 months, the possibility of an agreement was shattered with Israeli strikes back in June, and now Israeli and U.S. forces striking Iran. So they have very little trust with what he's saying. As far as Iran's ability to strike back, they continue to hit back. When it comes to their central command, it's impossible to verify the status of the central command, but we can tell you that Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, has said that Iran has activated what they're calling a decentralized mosaic defense. What does that mean? That means that every province, every region in Iran, the forces there are acting autonomously and independently. They don't need a central command. They are fighting by themselves, and that perhaps could explain why they're continuing to launch missiles, these drone attacks to Gulf states, U.S. assets in the region, in Israel, and inflict pain. Obviously, they're absorbing a lot of pain too. They're absorbing a lot of hits, and they're also inflicting a lot of pain in the region. How long is going to last? That's the troubling question. It seems like these are two sides that are just trying to out-bomb one another and stuck in the middle, again, increasingly more and more civilians who had nothing to do with these hostilities.